Here we are back together again, friends, for another episode of the Juicebox Podcast.
Hi, I am Lexy. My son Hayes was diagnosed January 4th, 2022.
Nothing you hear on the Juicebox Podcast should be considered advice, medical or otherwise. Always consult a physician before making any changes to your healthcare plan. Don't forget to save 40% off of your entire order at CozyEarth.com. All you have to do is use the offer code JUICEBOX at checkout. That's JUICEBOX at checkout to save 40% at CozyEarth.com. AG1 is offering my listeners a free $76 gift when you sign up. You'll get a welcome kit, a bottle of D3K2, and 5 free travel packs in your first box. So make sure you check out drinkag1.com/juicebox to get this offer. I created the Diabetes Variables series because I know that in type 1 diabetes management, the little things aren't that little, and they really add up. In this series, we'll break down everyday factors like stress, sleep, exercise, and those other variables that impact your day more than you might think. Jenny Smith and I are going to get straight to the point with practical advice that you can trust. So check out the Diabetes Variables series in your podcast player or at juiceboxpodcast.com. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the twiist AID system powered by Tidepool that features the twiist loop algorithm, which you can target to a glucose level as low as 87. Learn more at twiist.com/juicebox. That's twist with 2 eyes.com/juicebox. Get precision insulin delivery with a target range that you choose at twiist.com/juicebox. That's TWIIST.com/juicebox. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by US Med. usmed.com/juicebox or call 888-721-1514. Get your supplies the same way we do from US Med. Today's episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the Contour NextGen blood glucose meter. This is the meter that my daughter has on her person right now. It is incredibly accurate and waiting for you at contournext.com/juicebox.
Hi, I am Lexy. I am a mom of 3 little boys, also a foster mom. My son Hayes was diagnosed January 4th, 2022. We've just kind of been rolling through it since then.
Nice. Let's go back to the question you asked me right before we hit record.
Yes.
So I don't think I've ever just spoken about it while we're being recorded, and I think maybe it's time. What's your concern? Like that you won't have anything to say?
Yeah. I mean, I signed up to be on a podcast, 5 or 6 months ago. And I think I filled out a little form and then I just joined today. So I wanted to make sure that we have, something to talk about.
Listen, it's not uncommon. Everybody's worried when they jump on it. So everybody thinks that they'll be bad. When they get to the end of the recording, a surprising number of people tell me it's okay if I want to delete it, which always fascinates me because I've never done that. So all the episodes you've heard that you've enjoyed, a large majority of them at the end of it, the person said, if you want to delete that, I would completely understand. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's interesting. I don't know if it's self-confidence or just a lack of experience with the idea, but trust me, we're going to have a really fun conversation. We'll learn a bunch of stuff about you. I'll probably say something fairly inappropriate and then it'll be over. It just goes like that. Let's start first with, I don't know why you have so much energy when you have more than 3 children. How did that happen? Are you drinking? What are you doing right now to be jacked up like this?
Probably on my 3rd cup of coffee.
Okay. All right. That's fair. So how old are you?
I just turned 30.
Wow. You have 30 energy. How old were you when you had your first baby, by the way?
Oh, 25. 5.
Oh.
Yeah.
So have you done anything else in the last 5 years except make a baby, have a baby?
No, I think I've been, pregnant a lot or had kids cycling through my house a lot. It's just been all kids last 5 years.
No kidding. On purpose? That was like a plan or it just worked out?
I think it just worked out. I mean, I always wanted to have kids and we just started having kids and then we kept having kids and then we became foster parents. So then there was just a lot more kids and yeah.
How many kids are in the house right now?
Right now, just my 3. We had a foster son a few weeks ago, but he's not here now.
Oh, Interesting. For a small time when I was young, my parents fostered a kid. His name was Russell. Hey, Russell. What's up? If he's out there. But now that I've said his name, I'm thinking of the Holly Hunter, Robert Downey Jr. Christmas movie, Home for the Holidays. Do you know that one?
I think so.
Thanksgiving. It's a Thanksgiving movie. Anyway, this is not important. What's important is that at some point in the movie, Holly Hunter with her Holly Hunter accent. Is that an accent or is it a list? I don't know exactly what it is. But she goes, hello, Russell. And I saw that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Anyway, that just happened in my little brain. Okay, so you got married. You started making kids. You've been doing it for about the past 5 years. What leads you to foster children when you have so many of your own?
Honestly, I don't know. We're kind of crazy. We actually became foster parents the year my toddler was diagnosed with diabetes. And it's just, we're faithful people and it kind of felt like a calling. And honestly, I was really crazy. My husband was on a work trip and I was like, I think I'm going to go to this foster care interest meeting. And he's like, where are you at? And I was like, I'm just hearing about it. And my husband knows that I'm a little impulsive. So he's like, oh, she's going to this interest meeting. I guess we're going to become foster parents. And a few months later, we did.
What else have you come home with randomly?
A dog. I have done that. I guess a lot of impulse purchases, but nothing too crazy. Nothing like a car or anything like that. But yeah. I think I shouldn't say impulse. It's just once I have my mind set on like, hey, we should do this. It's just full force. Like I don't sit around and think about it too much. We just do it. So
listen, that's interesting. Do you have a lot of success in your life?
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
Because I've been thinking about this, what you just talked about a second ago, just the idea of having some motivation and then just doing it. Like a lot of things that I've made happen for the podcast or personally or anything like that is like I've put a thought together. I've gone, unlike you, I've thought about it for a while. And then, then I'm like, no, this is a good idea. The realization that the only thing that's left to do is just to do it and it will work. And I do that a lot. So listen, did you set your mind on helping someone? Was that the motivation?
Yeah. I mean, I just felt like my husband and I were really blessed at a young age, like with our house, our family, all of these things. And even though despite this diagnosis of diabetes, I'm sure we'll talk about, that we still just had this community of people and, you know, the foster care system, there's just not enough foster parents. And I'm like, if we could help other kids with, you know, the community and the resources that we have, and maybe even one day, and we haven't yet, have a kid that has type 1. Like I can't imagine being a foster kid going into the system and then landing at somebody's house and them having no idea about diabetes.
Yeah,
right.
I've got a couple of after darks about that are, you know, they're pretty stunning conversations. Okay. So wait, tell me something. Once you take a kid in, is there a length of time told you at the beginning or is that just up in the air?
No, it's just up in the air. And you get, you know, I remember our first placement, or I guess our second placement, they call you and they're like, hey, we have these 2 kids coming to your house in an hour. And you know nothing. I mean, they just show up at your house. And I mean, those kids that we had, they had medication patches on their back and the social worker didn't even know what the medication was. I mean, you really know nothing.
How old?
They were 4-year-old twins.
4-year-old twins with medications on their medication patches on. You can't ask them. And you say to the social worker, what is this for? And they go, I don't know. I think they smoke too much. Yeah, great.
They're like, it's Friday night. The doctor's office opens on Monday. So
yeah, try not to think about it till Monday.
Yeah.
What did the patches end up being for?
They were like sedative patches because they said these kids had ADHD and I don't know, the home they were in was putting these sedative patches on them. So obviously, as soon as I found out what they were, I'm like, can you rip these off? Like, I'm afraid to touch them.
Oh my God. Wait, did that end up being, how long did you have those kids for?
3 to 4 months.
Did those patches end up being necessary in the 4 months that you had them? The Contour NextGen blood glucose meter is sponsoring this episode of the Juicebox Podcast. And it's entirely possible that it is less expensive in cash than you're paying right now for your meter through your insurance company. That's right. If you go to my link, contournext.com/juicebox, you're going to find links to Walmart, Amazon, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Kroger, and Meijer. You could be paying more right now through your insurance for your test strips and meter than you would pay through my link for the Contour NextGen and Contour Next test strips in cash. What am I saying? My link may be cheaper out of your pocket than you're paying right now, even with your insurance. And I don't know what meter you have right now. I can't say that. But what I can say for sure is that the Contour NextGen meter is accurate. It is reliable, and it is the meter that we've been using for years. ContourNext.com/Juicebox. And if you already have a Contour meter and you're buying test strips, doing so through the Juicebox Podcast link will help to support the show. The brand new twiist insulin pump offers peace of mind with unmatched personalization and allows you to target a glucose level as low as 87. There are more reasons why you might be interested in checking out Twiist, but just in case that one got you, twiist.com/Juicebox. That's twist with 2 eyes.com/Juicebox. You can target glucose levels between 87 and 180. It's completely up to you. In addition to precision insulin delivery that's made possible by Twiist's design, Twiist also offers you the ability to edit your carb entries even after you've bolused. This gives the Twiist Loop algorithm the best information to make its decisions with. And the Twiist Loop algorithm lives on the pump, so you don't have to stay next to your phone for it to do its job. Twiist is coming very soon, so if you'd like to learn more or get on the wait list, go to twiist.com/Juicebox. That's twist with 2 eyes.com/Juicebox. Links in the show notes, links at juiceboxpodcast.com. Diabetes comes with a lot of things to remember, so it's nice when someone takes something off of your plate. US Med has done that for us. When it's time for Ardent supplies to be refreshed, we get an email. Rolls up and in your inbox says, "Hi Ardent, this is your friendly reorder email from US Med." You open up the email, it's a big button that says, "Click here to reorder," and you're done. Finally, somebody taking away a responsibility instead of adding one. US Med has done that for us. An email arrives, we click on a link, and the next thing you know, your products are at the front door. That simple. usmed.com/Juicebox or call 888-721-1514. I never have to wonder if Ardent has enough supplies. I click on one link, I open up a box, I put the stuff in the drawer, and we're done. US Med carries everything from insulin pumps and diabetes testing supplies to the latest CGMs like the Libre 3 and the Dexcom G7. They accept Medicare nationwide, over 800 private insurers, and all you have to do to get started is call 888-721-1514 or go to my link, usmed.com/Juicebox. Using that number or my link helps to support the production of the Juicebox podcast.
No.
Well, that's upsetting.
Yeah. I mean, they were at home and, no judgment to whoever had them, but they were having Mountain Dew for breakfast and eating whatever they wanted all day. And then, wondering why they're all amped up. Yeah.
Hey, I gave this kid Mountain Dew and a ho-ho, and he's acting crazy. Can we hit him with a trank? Oh my God. Oh, the whole world. I don't, do you ever feel smart? This is one of those moments.
Yeah. And so can you imagine a diabetic kid coming through the system like that? And you're, the way that they just kind of drop kids on you and you don't really even know what medications or things that they have, gosh. It's just, it's wild.
Lexy, does that become like the sole focus of your 4 months? Like, is there really time to live, or are you, you know what I mean? Like 4-year-olds, puppies, there's some things you have to like stop everything else for. Like, is that one of those things? And then how do you do that in your life? Do you work?
Yeah. So I did, at the time I was working, I was lucky enough to become a stay-at-home mom a few months ago, but through all of this time, both my husband and I work full time. We had, toddlers of our own, diabetes, everything. And I guess we just really didn't sleep much, but
all right. It's time for me to stop wondering if you're kind. Are you insane? Is there something wrong with you?
No. I think there's just a lot of things we wanted to accomplish and a lot of people we wanted to help. And
that's awesome.
Instead of probably just waiting and doing things at different chapters of our life, we're like, we'll just sacrifice some sleep for a little bit and just roll through it.
And your husband's good with this, or are you just super cute and you have a nice way of asking?
Honestly, my husband's amazing. He just kind of says, whatever you want to do, I'll just support you. And he rolls with it. So
it sounds like you're cute, but okay. Yeah. All right. Now, whatever you want to do. How long have you been married?
2018. I got to do some math here. 6 years?
6, 7 years? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, he seems like a decent guy.
He is. He is.
I argue about everything that somebody wants to do in the house. I think we should. I'm like, no, I don't think so. I don't think that doesn't sound like a good idea. Even like, I mean, it's just a lovely thing you did. You spent 4 months of your life taking care of these 4-year-olds. Do you know where they are now? Is that difficult?
No, it's really tough. You know, a lot of times when they leave from your home, they either get reunited with their parents, with relatives, or they move them to other foster homes. And most of the time you don't have contact afterwards. We do have contact with our first set of boys that we had because they were reunited with family, but it's up to whoever gets them next if, you know, they're allowed to have contact. And you don't get their information, they get your information, and they decide if they want to reach back out to you. So
yeah. And they're probably busy with the Mountain Dew purchases and everything. There's some good sales once in a while on Pepsi if you're aware of it. Okay, all right.
I'm a Coke girl, but
okay. I mean, I was walking through the store the other day and I saw 3 2-liter bottles for $6, and I thought that seems like a deal. I don't know, but it really did seem inexpensive. Okay, all right. So your kids, all boys? Did you say that?
All boys.
All boys.
Yep.
Right. And which one is the type 1?
The oldest.
The oldest one. How old is he now?
He just turned 5 last week.
Diagnosed when? 22?
Right before his second birthday. So January 2022.
Okay.
A few weeks before his birthday.
Okay. Safe to say it was a shock, or you saw it coming? Did you see something happening?
Oh, total shock. We had a 6-week baby at home. So just in the thick of, you know, postpartum times. My husband's grandfather had just died, and my grandfather had died on Monday, and we had a pediatrician appointment on Tuesday to see why my son was peeing through all of his diapers and just drinking water all the time. So it was just it was already kind of a dark time.
Yeah.
And obviously, like most people, after you get the diagnosis, you're like, wow, all of this makes sense. But at the time, you know, we have no family, no way to really, I guess, see it coming.
You don't have family, like a family history?
Family history,
okay.
Yeah.
Sucks, so much bad stuff happen all at once. What was going on during that time with him that made it? Was it just the peeing, or were there other things, or did hindsight show you other things?
No, I mean, he was just chugging a ton of water, and he was just peeing through so many diapers. I mean, we were doing 2 diapers at night, and he was still peeing through those. And my kids were daycare kids. We were working full time. And I mean, the months of September, October, November, December, right before diagnosis, I mean, he had everything. You know, they asked, oh, has he been sick with everything? I'm like, have you had a 1-year-old in daycare? I mean, everything, hand, foot, and mouth, the stomach bug, to the point that we went in the garage and put a tarp on our living room floor. The stomach bug was so bad.
Oh my God.
Illness after illness. He was actually diagnosed with asthma during one of his illnesses. So he was already a nebulizer kid. And so I'm sure one of those kind of, you know, had a play, but
Arden had Coxsackie. It's really common to have Coxsackie before a type 1 diagnosis.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you didn't know? Gosh, I'm trying to think of what episode it is now. But at some point, this is a weird timeline, but at this point, Sanofi owns the drug called Tzield that used to be called Temizolol, but it was brought to market by a company called Provention Bio. And I once had the CEO on, and he was talking about how one of the other things he's thought about doing was trying to create a vaccine for Coxsackie, because he thought if he could limit the amount of kids that got Coxsackie, he might limit them getting type 1 diabetes when they were super young.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So viruses, I mean, frequently lead to, if you're already predisposed to having type 1 diabetes, meaning you have antibodies and it's probably going to happen at some point, a virus can kind of kick all that into motion. And it is not uncommon. In fact, it is fairly common for people who have those antibodies who are going to get type 1 at some point to have it kicked off by Coxsackie virus. That all makes sense?
Yeah. I mean, I knew certain viruses definitely had high risk. I didn't know about that one. I remember sitting in the hospital just looking at all the COVID stuff, right? This was right out of COVID. And it would be hard to pinpoint anything for my son because, like I said, he probably had every virus you could have.
Did he have COVID as well?
Daycare. Yes, he had all of it.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, who knows? Yeah. You know what I mean? But geez, the kid was like a little virus sponge. But also, if his immune system was run down or misfire. I'm just going to use the word misfiring, which is probably not anywhere right. Like if it was acting up, I guess, then it makes a lot of sense that he started contracting a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It sucks. Did you get the other kids tested? Do you have any idea if they have antibodies?
No, but I'm just coming off a JDRF summit this past weekend, and I think they finally convinced me that it's time for me to start doing that for my other kids.
Yeah.
They're 3 and 1. So when I looked into it for my 3-year-old before, he was only like a year and a half at the time. Mm-hmm. So I think now he's old enough that I could start testing. I mean, I've definitely had the days where I'm randomly pricking his finger, but I know that antibodies, there's so much that they're researching now, delaying the onset, that I definitely find it worth it now to start screening them each year.
Yeah. We did ads for Screen for Type 1 last year, which would help you find out. I think JDRF has a program. TrialNet probably has a program. There's probably a number of people doing it at this point. Well, I wish you luck. I hope none of that happens.
Thank you. Me too.
I imagined you did.
Yes.
So you don't have any family history, but picking through for a second, like down to like thyroid or celiac, or there's no autoimmune in your family, or just no type 1?
So no type 1, but there has been thyroid on my husband's side of the family. His mom.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm just kidding. Good.
Yeah, I know. No, we weren't sure how much that was connected. We haven't dug too deep, kind of just accepted, all right, this is how it is. And, we had those times, especially my son Hayes, and then his brother was 6 weeks when he was diagnosed. And you kind of stop and you're like, all right, should we just not have any more kids, right? Because if this, is in our family now, and, we kind of made up our mind then that we're not going to let diabetes stop us from doing anything that we would do if it didn't. So,
Are you trying for a girl? What's going on here, Lexy?
Everyone asks me that. I'd be okay being all boy mom, but yeah, I think we'll definitely have at least one more kid. But
all right.
I don't know. I don't want diabetes to stop us from doing anything that we would do if we didn't have diabetes. And so I've been pretty strong on that. And sometimes I spiral a little bit, when you start trying to dig into your family tree and, find the connections. Cause I'm like, it takes me back to that place of like, oh, maybe we should think about this. And I'm like, no, I'm going to keep moving forward. So
what's your husband like? Bitcoin mining? How's he making all this money to take care of these kids? What's going on?
No, he works for a gym.
God, is he stealing from the lockers during the day? That's awesome.
I know.
Also, I'm moving to wherever you are because it sounds affordable. Oh no, well, good for you. Are you going to make another baby? Like, are you actively trying to have a baby?
No, not right now.
Okay.
No, I have a almost 1-year-old. I need a little
break.
Yes.
Listen, I don't want to tell you what to do, but 3's plenty. You're good.
Hey, I've gotten used to 4. We usually have 4 kids around here, so.
They'll make friends, and then there'll be 19 people in your house, and you'll be like, oh, we should not have had these many children. If it ends up that way, it's funny, like my house is, for my son, it doesn't work this way, but for my daughter, all her friends come here. And so there's a lot of people here usually.
I love that.
Yeah. But so much so that like if I try to work later in the evening, like she's got friends whose voices like cut through and I'll come down and I'll be like, actually, I'll just say her name because she'll be thrilled. I'll be like, hey, is Sanj here? How did you know? I'm like, how did I know it was coming through the floor? That's how I knew. She has another friend who giggles after she talks all the time. Like I know when she's here, like, I like that her friends think of here as like comfortable.
Yeah. You want that. Like I would love to be that for my kid.
All right, so let's dig into this being the mom of a toddler with type 1 thing. So you get home from the hospital and it's, in your lap. You obviously have a ton of energy for whatever reason. What's your plan? Did you have a plan or were you just lost?
No, I mean, we were really deep in grief during this time. And granted, we both just lost our grandfathers. We were in the hospital during my grandfather's funeral. I couldn't even go back to be a part of that. And then now, I remember at the pediatrician office, they told me, hey, you need to go to the ER. And I remember calling my husband and he, neither of us had any idea about type 1 diabetes, first of all. Mm-hmm. And he goes, well, I'm sure they'll fix it and we'll be good. Like he had no idea when I called him and said, hey, he has type 1 diabetes, that meant forever. He thought, oh, he's going to go to the hospital and they're going to fix it. Yeah. He's going to be good. And so we all kind of had to come to terms with that. And, on top of that, we have a 6-week-old baby. Like we're already not sleeping. You're your emotions are in these just, tough places. But one thing that I'm grateful for, I guess, in a sense, is even though I did have a 6-week-old baby, I was on maternity leave.
Mm-hmm.
So I was home and had time to really invest in learning this before I had to send them back to daycare. I can't imagine some of these people that they get a diagnosis and then the next week they have to go back to work and they have to leave their kid with somebody else.
Yeah, I think about that a lot.
Yeah. And I was very lucky that, I had time. Obviously, what do? You start scouring the internet and joining all these Facebook groups and just trying to find all the information you can. That's how I found the podcast. And what I figured from the point was I need to get him on a pump. I don't think I'll feel comfortable sending my toddler back with other people doing these injections, because to me, it just seems so easy to mess up, to just do an extra half unit when it's like his basal is like 0.05,
Yeah.
You mess up just a little and that's a really scary amount for a toddler. So
how quickly were you able to get him a pump?
So he was on a CGM within a week and a pump within 3 weeks.
Oh, okay. And that was you. You moved that through.
Yes, I stayed on the hospital, but luckily the physician that we had researched and saw that he was pretty okay with some of the, algorithm looping and different things that made us think that he would let us get on technology pretty quick. So.
Oh, wow. And you figured that out through, I almost said the internet, like I was 1,000 years old. Did you use the box? No, you figured that out through like a Facebook group, like through local people. How'd you sniff out who this doctor was?
Yeah. So through Facebook groups, and I can't remember if it was our local one at the time or Juicebox or which Facebook group, but it was just searching, right? Using the search bar, looking for, physicians that were kind of up to date, because everyone has those physicians that went to school and they know their medical terminology, but aren't up to date on technology at all.
Yeah.
And we did not want that. We knew from the get-go that we wanted the cutting edge stuff for our son. And
do you really believe that this came from just your concern about letting another person use the syringe on him? Was it the actual poking, I should ask, or was it the idea that they could mess it up?
I do think it was the fear of them messing it up. Another aspect was really like the control, right? When things are going in through a pump, I can go back and I can actually see, oh, you gave him this amount of insulin. And when you just hand somebody a syringe and tell them to dose him, I can't go back on this Humalog Junior pen and see what you did.
Okay. You want to be able to track what they did as well.
Right.
Okay. All right. I got you. How much did he weigh at that point? Do you remember?
I honestly have no idea.
But like
40 pounds. He's 40 pounds now. Maybe half of that. I don't know.
Okay. But he was small was my point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
okay.
yeah.
And what pump did you end up with?
At the time, it was Omnipod DASH.
Okay. And you're using what now?
We're back to the DASH because we loop. But we moved to the Omnipod 5 for a while.
Tried Omnipod 5. So you were DASH manual, Omnipod 5, then loop, or did you loop?
Yes.
Okay. You didn't do loop, then Omnipod 5, then loop.
No.
Okay. All right. And he's wearing a G7 at this point?
Yes.
Yeah. I figured you got him a
We
7.
love the G7.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's funny. We were having a conversation online with somebody the other day, and they were like, the adhesive on the G7 sucks. I wish it was like the G6. I like this better about the 6. I like that. And this thing stinks. And I was like, I'm having the exact opposite experience of you. And it led to that conversation about the fact that this is it's a piece of plastic and wire and et cetera. And it's trying to mesh with your physiology, and not everybody's the same. So some people have oilier skin or drier skin, or some people, are better hydrated or not. Or I've seen Dexcoms just not work on people. I've seen Libres not work on people. And the same device works like magically for someone else. It sucks that there's no magical way to just make it work for everybody the same, but awesome device. I enjoy it a lot. It's so much smaller, and it's funny. Arden says the sticky stuff is too sticky.
I know.
Yeah.
Like all the adhesives, but I mean, I'm in a little diabetes moms group message locally here, and same thing in our group message. Like everyone has, some people want the 6, majority do like the 7, but it's the same thing when it comes to pumps, right? Like there's just no one size fits all. I
just love that Arden's like, this thing's so sticky, and the woman's online saying to me like, it doesn't stick, and I'm like,
it doesn't stick. Yeah.
I'm like,
It is. Everybody's so different. Yeah.
It's awesome. What made you go to loop?
Yeah. I mean, we just weren't getting the control that we wanted. And maybe it's because I like too much control. I feel like The 5 is great if you just want to put in a few settings and let it run. I like the detail of Loop, right? I love looking at Night Scout and looking at the reports of how we can change. And then honestly, as a toddler, everything changes so quickly, right? Oh, I want a snack. Oh, never mind. I don't want to eat that anymore. Or here, I'm going to eat this 30 carb whatever, and then I'm going to go run down the street on my bike or whatever. And I wanted the ability to be able to pivot better, I guess, during those circumstances. I don't know. I just feel like we got much better control.
I mean, I think whatever works is the best thing. His variables changed too frequently and the Omnipod 5 wasn't keeping up with the changes.
He was still in daycare at this time, right? So we still just like a petri dish. And so he would get sick and his needs would go way up and the pod would learn that, right? And then the next pod change, he would have a lot of lows. And so not having kind of those overrides or profiles. And I know there's ways to manipulate it on the 5 by changing the target or activity mode and things like that. But it just seemed easier for me to pivot, on Loop.
Yeah.
As well as, when he's at daycare and I know that recess is coming up and he's trending a certain way, being able to pop on the override and not have to bother his, preschool teacher who also has all these 20 other little 2-year-olds running around.
Yeah.
I was able to take off some of the load from her.
Right. Doing it remotely.
With Loop. Yes. Yeah.
So listen, I think Loop's awesome. So,
yeah.
Okay. What's it like, I guess, like day to day? I'd like to know, I raised a toddler on MDI and then eventually on a pump. But the truth is I was using the pump like MDI for a while to begin with. Just, it was just a replacement for the shots in the beginning before I really knew what I was doing. So what's it modern day like raising a little kid with type 1? Like, what are the things that you constantly struggle with, and what are the ways that you found to get around them?
Yeah. So I think for Hayes, I mean, the biggest barrier or things that I found, I guess this is with any kid with a diagnosis of anything, was just being different, right? I remember he went to daycare one day and they were giving little M&Ms whenever a kid got something right. And the teacher didn't reach out and she just decided like, oh, he has diabetes. I'm not going to give him M&Ms as a reward. And they ended up giving each kid like 4 M&Ms, which is like 2 carbs. I mean, he could have just had it, right? But they didn't know. And they went and explained it to him that, just like so-and-so has an allergy to peanuts, it's like your allergy to sugar.
Awesome. This lady is the lady who put the Mountain Dew in the 4-year-olds. Is that right?
Yeah,
is that
pretty
what
much.
You're here to tell people?
That's how I felt at the time.
Yeah.
That he carried the weight of that, right? Come on, well, I'm allergic to sugar. And it's like, no, you're not allergic to sugar. But just realizing like, hey, you are going to be different, and going through school or any of these situations, like there are times that I'm going to have to pull him out and do a pod change or make him sit out and have a juice box. And, that was a really, really hard thing to come to terms with.
Yeah. It's difficult, Lexy, to know, and it sucks to have to do it at such a young age. But like anybody who's got kids, that there's this moment where you have to explain to them that everybody might not be terrific all the time.
Yeah.
You have to start saying like, oh, well, that lady, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Or up until then, they think, I don't know, that's my teacher. That's like that woman, she knows what she's doing. That guy knows what he's doing. Like, he's in a position of power. Like the first time you have to start telling kids that everything's not perfect, it's sad. Like, because you had to tell your kid, listen, this woman who we told you is going to take care of you, and she knows what she's doing. All these people do, right? They didn't know this, and they're wrong. And then you have to talk him out of believing what they told them. It starts that whole journey of learning what the world is. And it sucks if it has to start too early. That's all, I think.
It does.
Yeah,
it does. But I will say, like, especially foster care, it has given our family such perspective, right? I mean, one of the sweetest videos on my phone was it was our first foster placement, a 4 and 6-year-old little boy. And he never did a pod change, but he was just always so interested in what I'm doing. It's 2-year-old Hayes and all these devices. And he filmed a video for me. I was like, hey, I need to film a video doing a pod change for, grandparents or whoever needs to change this. And he's sitting here going, and there's this device and we got to put it on his butt. And it's just like the cutest
doing
thing.
The voiceover.
Yeah, it's the little voiceover of this 6-year-old little boy. And you're like, wow, this boy has to deal with such hard things. And so does Hayes, but they're different. And everyone has hard things that they have to deal with. We just they're all different. And sometimes they're invisible and sometimes you can see it on people. But, in this life, we all experience hard things. So why harp and just, keep moving forward?
How'd you learn that? What did you experience that was difficult before the diabetes?
Honestly, the diabetes was a huge turning point in my life. I mean, I think before that, the only other thing that felt really deep, which may sound silly to some, was we had to rehome a dog because they were aggressive to Hayes when he was a baby. And, at the time, before you have kids, dogs are like your babies.
Yeah. Lexy, you seem like young to me, like just because you're 20, you're much younger than I am. But so I was going to say your young life, I don't know why, but in your life, like this diabetes is the first like real objectionable thing that happened. Like, would you say your life was like cruising along until then?
I mean, ish. I definitely had lost other grandparents and things like that. But I will say that diabetes is the hardest thing I've ever overcome in my life. And maybe that's because it was my first kind of true, like adult, deep grief where you're like, this changes my whole life, right? Losing someone, different things like that. Like you move through the grief, but this is something that I have to deal with every single day, 24/7. And this is on me.
You're not looking to lose a grandparent, but if you are in your late 20s is not terrible. Like that's not a bad run for them, right? They were probably almost 80 years old.
Right.
Yeah. So I take your point. Has anything happened since then? Have you been like, wow, I didn't realize how much easier this would be now that I've got this perspective? Or are you like waiting for the next shoe to drop? Or are you like, I'm ready? Is like something bad gonna happen because I know what to do now? Did it start off a chain of events, or has it just been this diabetes thing and that's what you're dealing with now and nothing else big has happened yet?
No, I mean, obviously, some of the moves from our foster kids have left us in a little bit of a grief period for a little bit. Nothing, I'll say diabetes has definitely given us this huge perspective where things don't seem, I shouldn't say things don't seem as hard. What's that quote where it's not that things get easier, you just get better equipped to handle them.
Yeah.
So I do think that diabetes just gave us a huge perspective shift. And, we have a huge, community. We've been blessed with amazing family. And when we got the diagnosis, I dove into all of these diabetes groups. I'm involved with JDRF. I have this diabetes moms group message, and being with other people who get it. I don't know. I can't emphasize that enough.
I don't know how to explain it exactly. I realize it's probably pretty simply explained, but to me, it seems like for the amount of good that comes from it and the amount that you get out of it, there should be a deeper explanation of what it is. But I think in the end, just having people around to understand is incredibly valuable. And, if you can get help from them or information from them, that's a bonus. But just them being there is a big deal.
The keynote at the JDRF summit this past weekend, she was amazing. She said type 1 for 40 years, but she put up a little meme of this husky floating around in space. And she's like, just having someone who can just sit there and just say, I have no idea together. You don't even have to have the answer or anything, but just a group of people that were like, hey, we just all have no idea, but we get it. We understand it. That's truly, just having another diabetes mom to text at 3 a.m. when you're trying to get, this low to come up. They just get it. And you feel better knowing that someone else just gets it.
Yeah, I think it can almost take away the underlying shame that you have for not being better at something or knowing something. I don't even know if that's always conscious that people feel ashamed, but you do. Like something happens and you don't know what to do, and you have that that dread feeling. If somebody else says, oh, I don't know what the hell that is either, you go, oh, okay, maybe I'm not supposed to know what this is. And like maybe we can find out together, or I can find out separately or whatever, but at least I'm not here beating myself up consciously or subconsciously about a thing that I'd have no way of understanding.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. Tell me a little more. Like, do you like WhatsApp it, or how do you guys, where's your little group?
Yeah, we just have a text message. It just grew from, connecting with one diabetes mom in the area, and then she knew somebody and I knew somebody, and then we just all put ourselves together. So we all live locally and can meet up and go out for margaritas and, complain about diabetes away from our young kids and then go back.
Lexy, what are the complaints?
Oh, I haven't slept in 3 nights because we had, the stomach bug, or, one mom has a Dexcom prescription for every 2 days because her kid's allergic to every adhesive. And, I don't know, just kind of all the different things that we're going through. But then we also share resources. I mean, some of the kids in our group, are already in elementary school. I just registered Hayes for kindergarten. So, at daycare, I kind of just got to tell the teachers, hey, this is how I want you to handle it. And they would do it. And, just hearing from moms that, hey, the public school system's a little different. They go by your health plan and, different things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's interesting. I wonder if anybody's ever gotten together a group and somebody said like, oh, I like this podcast. And then somebody else goes, I don't like that guy. I'd love to hear that conversation. I would a fly on a wall for the conversation where people are complaining about me would be awesome. I would love that. Can you make that happen? Can you just lay your phone down when somebody starts really complaining about me? I would love that.
I'll try it for you. I will say all of our group are fans, but I'm sure there's groups out there.
Does your group have a name? Have you guys given yourself a...
Someone named it the Diabetes Moms.
Are you in the South?
But I don't think we've ever said it out loud. It's just the text message group name.
When one of Arden's friends texts her, it's like her name with like a saying and a bunch of emojis. And when the voiceover's on, it like speaks the whole thing out. It's infuriating and hilarious at the same time because it's like blah, blah, blah emoji and this emoji and that emoji. And I'm like, oh my God.
I love that.
Yeah, it's fun.
I love that.
You got good friends. Well, that's nice. Are you guys, I'm trying to find out, are you spread out over age? Like, is the diabetes the thing that brings you together? It doesn't matter that one of you is 30 and one of you is 45, or are you similarly aged?
We are similar age. Our kids are all of our kids are probably 8 and under.
Okay.
So yeah, I think our kids are around the same point.
While you're together, if you can come up with a fix for what happens when I'm wearing my headphones and the beeping goes off really loudly, I'd love that to not happen anymore to me because that still happens sometimes.
We'll brainstorm.
Yeah, if you guys can figure that out. Do you have the when the Dexcom follow goes off in your ears and you're wearing your headphones, does it announce it to you? Because I get like a voice that says it's beep beep high glucose notification from Arden Eva 99. That's what it says to me. Does that happen to everybody or just me?
I don't know. I'm on my laptop and I don't use my headphones much on my phone.
Oh, I do constantly.
I don't have the problem. Sorry.
I don't want to listen to the people I live with, so I put my head. No, that's not true. It's funny. Like we live in such a digital household. Like people go to school, they are working digitally. Like everything that you almost have to wear headphones to do anything because somebody else is doing something that can't be interrupted. It happens a lot, actually. Oh, you don't have that problem yet.
No, I'm in the toddler household, so it's just loud little squeals and tears and laughs all day right now.
I get like stink eye like for like doing the dishes at the wrong time. Like I'm on a meeting. I'm like, okay.
No, I told my husband, I was like, you have to work out of the home if I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom because there's no way that I can keep these 3 little plus, other kids.
Your husband's like, I have to go to the gym now and work out. Yeah.
And work. That's right.
Should tell him, look, we've been together a while now and we've got 3 kids. I don't even care what you look like anymore. So you're not doing it for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Just keep getting paid.
Just his mental health.
Yeah, exactly. Just for him.
Around.
Yeah, just for him.
Yes.
Do you work out at the same, or did you work out like he does, or you guys not do it together?
I do. It's kind of embarrassing to say. We have 3 gym memberships because we all like working out at different places. I definitely need that too.
Yeah. It helps.
Oh, yeah. It was good practice too with diabetes. I feel like the big things that I wanted to share today was really one of hope, right? I didn't stop having kids or stop pursuing dreams of being a foster parent and things like that just because of diabetes. And another one being community, obviously. You have to find your people who can step up for you. I mean, now I have babysitters and people to bounce ideas off of and resources off of and just sharing my 3 a.m., crying sessions or whatever. But the other one was just like feeling empowered and preparation. And I feel like just you're saying a bold with insulin, like that was the biggest thing when I got the diagnosis was I was just scared, right? And when you're not confident in something, I don't know, that the anxiety creeps in and the numbers are all over the place. And the gym was like a really good place for me to start practicing. I put together 1 million documents for my son and just really practicing putting those together and putting my son into a childcare place, but still being on site. Right. Mm-hmm. And so not only am I getting my some help with my mental and physical health at the
Yeah.
gym, but I was also practicing leaving my son somewhere and practicing what information did they need to know to care for my son.
Yeah. I practiced with Arden upstairs. That's how I did it.
Oh, really?
That's what that texting diabetes episode, it's like episode 4 of the podcast is about. It's about the day like that she was upstairs and needed insulin. And I just didn't feel like walking upstairs. So I texted her. And
I had to go listen to that.
yeah. And then she did it. And I was like, oh, that worked. And then I thought like I could do that when she's at a friend's house, or why couldn't I do that while she was at school? And then I got real apprehensive about it. And I was like, what is stopping me? Right? Like, what's stopping me from doing this? I just watched it work. And I realized at some point, like, it was just my fear. Like, I had this idea that if I was with her, I could stop something bad from happening. But if I wasn't with her, then I couldn't. So not okay. But then I just practiced again. Like, she's across the street with a friend. And I was like, hey, text here. And I was like, I could run over there if I had to, and then it worked. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, it's what you're saying. Like, you were practicing leaving him somewhere. I was practicing monitoring and advising from a distance. Then once we caught our rhythm with that, then I moved it on to school, and then boom, everything got better and better again. So, it just occurred to me one day. I was like, the only thing stopping me is that I'm afraid. Like, if I stop being afraid, maybe I'll be okay. It's nice to hear you say that idea of like being bold was helpful to you, because I haven't gotten away from it. It's just the podcast has grown so much that I don't think I talk about it as much as I probably did in the past. But I've seen like that phrase be like foundational for so many people. People bring it up to me like, no lie, like constantly, like I was bold today, or like, thank you for reminding me not to be afraid, like that kind of stuff. I just didn't know how big of a deal it was going to be at the time when I said it originally. So it makes me feel good that it helped you. And I love the idea that you practiced. I'll leave him at the gym with somebody. I'm close, it's awesome.
It's huge. And it kind of represents just confidence to me, right? Feeling empowered with insulin, because it is. It's such a scary thing when you get started. So that phrase definitely. And now we just had our first play date a few weeks ago. I dropped him off at somebody's house that has no experience with type 1.
What did you tell them? I'm so interested. How much did you tell them?
Yeah. So I have a little card that I had made, like a little postcard size, that I leave with him at the gym and I leave with him at church. So times when I'm close by, and it just talks about lows. You need to give this Smartie, and then it tells you like, hey, you need to call me if you're doing snacks, if you're doing any crazy exercise activities, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But I think in situations where he's just going to play for an hour or two, that's all they need to know, right? Yeah. And that's a big thing that I've really worked on the past few years. I've created kind of all these guides for different people. There's a guide for when they go to church, when they go to the gym, when they go this little play date. There's a guide for, daycare. And then there's a guide for like my parents and my aunt and uncle and people who have a little more experience, where I want them dosing for fat and protein. I want them doing those extra things. But yeah, for things like those play dates, I was nearby and all they needed to worry about was low blood sugar.
How does it work out? Like, so you have the card. Has the card ever gotten used?
Yeah. I mean, I have just like a little clear bag, and I put his phone on so that the Dexcom number just stays up. And then there's this little postcard that says, hey, under 85, give one of these Smarties. Under 70, give 2 of these Smarties, and anything else, call me. I mean, now with technology, it's amazing. I mean, my 5-year-old's wearing an Apple Watch. They have a cell phone. Like when I call him and he's at the play date, he answers me on his watch and I say, go eat a Smartie. It's way different than when he was 2 years old.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It really helps. It's funny. I can't believe you haven't heard that episode, the episode 4, like, because you're doing it. You're just doing it with a smartwatch. I was doing it with a cell phone. Like, it's awesome, and he's good with that. Is he very just like, does he have like a boy attitude? Does he just stop for a second, do the thing, keep going?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And we've had to have lots of talks of like, hey, I'm going to let you go to your friends' houses. I'm going to let you run down to the neighbor's house. As long as you continue to answer the phone when I call you. Right. And, until you're not answering the phone or, not keeping up with it, then we'll have to have a talk. But, as much as you'll, answer when I call you, you can continue to do these things. And, your parents want you to do these things and don't want diabetes to hold you back. So
yeah, he's responding well to that.
Absolutely.
What do you think his understanding of diabetes is?
He's pretty well versed. I mean, he doesn't remember life before diabetes. So it's just always been his life. And he likes the perks too. You know, when he goes to his friend's house, they're like, wait, you have a cell phone? He's like, yeah, I have a diabetes, so I have a cell phone. Hey, you have an Apple Watch? Oh, yeah, I have diabetes, so I have an Apple Watch. You know, when he's eating a Smartie and his 3-year-old brother's screaming for Smarties, and he's like, oh, well, I have diabetes, so I get Smarties. But as far as, you know, he knows when he's high, he needs insulin, and when he's low, he needs sugar. And that's kind of
that's
the
it.
extent.
He does, like, so you haven't had any of those, like, your immune system, like, you haven't discussed any of that. Does he know what happens when he gets low? Does he know why it's so important? Or, like, what's the level of understanding you gave him so he knows that I have to answer the phone? Is it just so that I can continue to go outside? Or is it because I don't want to fall over and have a seizure?
No, I don't think he truly understands. He's never felt his lows. I mean, he's been as low as, I think the lowest I've seen is like 32, and no symptoms.
Okay.
To him, it's just, I need to answer the phone if I want to continue to go to my friend's house by myself without my mom coming.
I don't need this lady here.
Yeah.
I got that. How did the mom, the first play date, how did she handle it? Like, do you think you know what I mean? Like, was she nervous? Did she just not understand enough to be nervous? How did that work?
She is definitely one of my like type B mom friends. And so she was not nervous. And I think that's why I kind of picked her to be the first one to try it, because again, in the age of technology, if something were to happen to Hayes' phone where I couldn't call his phone, I'd call her phone. Mm-hmm. Or I have her husband's number or however. And at least I hope that because I simplified it so much that I gave her the confidence that if he goes low, he just needs to eat the Smartie. And if, God forbid, anything horrible happened, I have this Gvoke pen that's like an EpiPen that I need to stab into his leg.
Did you tell her about the Gvoke HypoPen?
Yes, but I always frame it that, hey, it's just like an EpiPen, rip off the cap, put it in his thigh, and
it'll be
hopefully
fine.
We never have to use it. Yeah.
You on purpose picked the mom you know who's like, oh, that's fine. They could probably smoke crack. Like, she's got that vibe, right? Yeah.
Yes, okay. Yes. Because I have another mom friend who he loves them, but I know that she would just be anxious and on eggshells the whole day, or the whole play date, I should say. And so I think it was a good one to kind of, Yeah,
you didn't put it on her.
Right.
That's nice.
Right. I mean, I stayed really close by.
You're like, and I was behind a bush, Scott, outside behind a bush.
If you've seen some of the childcare attendants at some of the gyms I've left them at, this is way better. So.
You're like,
some didn't even look up at me when I dropped them off from their cell phones.
He has diabetes. I don't care. I won't be paying attention. Thank you.
Scrolling on Instagram. Yeah. I'm 14. Yeah.
Have you seen the dress that Zendaya wore to the Grammys?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, look at this lady. This I'll show you. It's cool. I think this is a very healthy way to figure it out, because the expectation that everybody's going to care the way you care, or that everybody's going to do the thing they're supposed to do. I think you can get lucky and meet people like that, but you can't be sure you're going to meet those people, and you certainly can't hold those people to standards, whether it's, look, I get myself in trouble here a little bit. Like, I get there's 504 plans and the schools have to do what's in the plan and blah, blah. And that's all well and good. And I believe in that too, right up until it doesn't happen. And then, you can argue about it later, what they were supposed to do, but it's not going to help you in the moment. So better, in my opinion, it sounds like your opinion too, to navigate the world as it is instead of trying to make the world what you want it to be.
Right.
Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. I mean, those health plans, like, oh my gosh, like the ones that you get after your appointment with your endo, just so confusing. So like not in how we think or how we act, like absolutely. Like those physicians aren't living our day-to-day life, And I know that they have to kind of do this one size fits all, but it's not one size fits all. I mean, we all manage differently. And I think as much as you can take information, complex information, and just make it very simple and just tell people what you need them to do. I mean, and the person who's watching your kid for an hour does not need to know all the pump instructions. They don't need to know all this extra information. Just take the complex, make it simple, and just tell them what they need to know in order to keep your kid safe. You
and I would get along, Lexy. I think I know why you like this podcast.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't have an expectation that everybody's going to run around doing everything perfectly all the time.
No.
And I also believe that there's about a bazillion ailments, problems, diseases, and life struggles that I don't understand. And if you just ran up to me and started explaining them to me, I'd be like, I don't know what you're saying.
Right.
And then after that, if I said, I don't know what you're saying, you said, no, but it's very important because you're in charge now. I'd be like, no, I'm not. You got the wrong guy.
No.
No, thank you. It's just a very realistic way of looking at it.
Yeah.
I don't understand what happened to you, Lexy. You're 30. You have 3 kids. You've fostered people. You're being very realistic. Nobody beat you when you were a child or something crazy didn't happen to you? No, you just leveled up from the diabetes? Were you this person before diabetes?
I was.
What the hell, Lexy?
Yeah.
Good for you. Did you go to college?
I did. NC State.
What'd you major?
Marketing.
Oh, you do understand people then.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Marketing, I hate talking about it because it makes me feel bad because it is targeted manipulation.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Yes.
It's psychology, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
1000%. But it's helped me so much, and all of the things that I've prepared for Hayes, and yeah.
What have you marketed so far?
I shouldn't say I've necessarily marketed. It's more taking the complex. Well, I guess it is marketing. Taking the complex and making it simple, and gearing different guides towards the different people that watch my son, I think has been a huge, huge thing, because again, I don't let diabetes change our life. My husband and I go on trips without the kids. Hayes went to daycare for 3 years before I became a stay-at-home mom. Mm-hmm. He goes to the church daycare. He goes to gym daycare. He does overnights with my aunt, with my parents. Like, we don't hold back just because of diabetes. And the only reason we're able to do that is because maybe I'm a doomsday prepper. I don't know. But because I have so many plan A, B, C, D, E, and so many guides and things that I feel confident leaving him in different situations. And so,
is there a concrete bunker in your backyard? What are we talking about?
No, if my husband would let me, probably.
You're not anxious,
There's
though.
There's sugar hidden everywhere.
Oh, you're prepping for diabetes stuff. You mean
doomsday diabetes? That's probably a better way to put it.
Yeah, you're not hiding from the Rooskies or anything like that. Like it's 1953. No. I got you. Okay.
No.
Oh, okay. I see. Oh, because I was going to say, like, you're not an anxious person at all, right? Are you?
Yeah.
It's anxiety keeping you focused?
I think it does. I think it fuels me. No. It's probably just the coffee.
It's probably the coffee and the anxiety. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
What have we not talked about that we should have?
So I think, like I said, the big things that I really wanted to drive was just that, there is hope. I just remember such a dark period after diagnosis, and life resumes, and so many people fight so many hard things, and this is just our hard thing, that we have to push through.
Have you ever heard the episode Do Hard Things?
I don't think so.
Okay. So I came to grips with this idea when a mom came on the podcast and shared her story in episode 303. It's called Do Hard Things. Okay. And I think it ran as a best of last year at 1287 as well. The long and the short of it is that she was on her way to her kid's endo appointment on like tragically snowy roads, and the car crashed and her kid died.
I can't imagine.
She reached out to be on the podcast because she said the podcast it made her feel connected to him. I don't know. She just told her story. And I thought, like,
wow.
Yeah, like she's still going. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's incredibly inspirational. Like, because if you think about all the things throughout your day that you let waylay you, or something that you get pissed about, that lady would trade anything to have your problems. And I find that like valuable. And anyway, it's what I think about now when I think about all this.
Like, if she can push through that.
I mean, what is it I'm supposed to complain about?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can imagine.
I love complaining, Lexy, as sport. I just want to say as sport.
Yeah.
But like in my actual real life, like I'm not running around like feeling that. And I have that feeling in me. I'm like, the worst thing that happened to me so far is bad. I don't think it's important or good to measure your bad things against other people's bad things.
No, it's all relative.
It's all completely relative. The worst thing that's ever happened to you is a really bad thing, right? Just because somebody else had something happen to them that's worse doesn't mean my thing's not important. But at the same time, you can derive perspective from it and say, okay, this sucks, but I can keep doing this. And I don't know. That's sort of, it's a big help to me, that her coming on and sharing that story. So anyway, I just bummed it right out at the end. Look at that. Can you tell me, please, for this is for my edification, what do you like about the podcast? Why was it helpful for you?
Yeah, so I think for me, I'm very I love like practical tips. So I always look for the episodes, like on all the variables, on all of like, I want to know exactly how to dose for fat and protein. I want to know pre-bolus timing. Like those are the pieces that, again, gave me confidence in order to, to dose that and move on to the pumps that we do and things like that. So
you like the management stuff mostly?
Yeah, I've always been like that. We went to the JDRF summit and my husband's going to like the feel good, like, psychology sessions. And I'm like, no, I'm going to clinical research. I'm going to, I like the hard tactical things.
So when you talk about your friend group around diabetes, it's not supportive as much as it is more about like figuring it out so you can get it done and get it right?
No, I do think that group is more supportive.
Okay.
But I think personally, I like to look for I like to look at data. I like to look at, I tell my aunt when she watches my kid and they're going in the hot tub, I want a rule for how much juice he should be sipping on in the hot tub. And it's, I tell her to take his carb ratio and multiply his insulin on board. Like I like to have those shortcuts and try to make things more concrete.
I'm always interested by what people take from it.
Yeah, for me, it's more of those management tips.
Yeah.
Whereas I think some of my friends in the group, it's probably more the stories, right?
It's interesting, isn't it? Like you're a management person, but somebody will probably listen to you for your story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Circle of life-ish. That's all.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something on this recording because it basically sets a 6-month timer for me to get something accomplished. Okay.
Okay.
This is how I hold myself to account but for the next 6 months, only you and I are going to know about this.
Okay.
And probably your friends, I'm guessing.
Okay.
And then if they can't keep their mouth shut, whoever they tell and whatever, it's fine. I don't imagine people are running around talking about me in their private time.
Never know.
You never know. Actually, it is weird to know that does happen.
It does.
I started a few years ago. I dove into the idea of like an online community for people listening that's outside of Facebook, not in place of Facebook, outside of Facebook. I looked at it. I liked the platform a lot, but it didn't feel completely baked all the way yet. And some 3 years later, the company's still going and they've got their product. It works, right? Like it's good. It'll allow people to message with each other. It'll allow people to use like a Facebook type function, but it won't just be one feed. It could be like a feed for Omnipod, a feed for Dexcom, a feed for, Eversense 365. Like there could be a feed for all different kinds of topics. People could message with each other. They could do live video chats with each other from inside of it. I could chat live to them if I wanted to. Like it has a lot of functionality. It works really rock solid, and it has an Android and an iPhone app. It's expensive to run. And so what most people do, the reason they're expensive is because what most people do is they start niche communities and then charge people to be in them, and they make money off of them. That's what the platform is, I think, generally used. But I don't want to, me, like I'm not looking to charge money from people. Like, so what I think is that I'm going to set it up initially as a place where there are courses that are built off the information inside the different series in the podcast. And so you can kind of take like Quizlet type like courses, like,
I love that.
Yeah. Right. And then like quiz yourself on it at the end, see how you're doing, like get through it, maybe like level up or whatever. And then at the same time, if you want to build a community in there or talk to people, it's there if you want to. I think I have to charge the tiniest bit of money to keep out what I would call nudniks, which might not be a word, I don't know where in the country you live. Yeah. Lunatics, crazies, that kind of thing. Yeah. To keep those people out, I'll probably charge like a couple of dollars a month, like just enough that a person who has a bad intention would be like, I'm not paying that guy $2 a month so that I can shit on people. Like, you know what I mean? Right. Like I'll go shit on people for free somewhere else. It won't cost you, it won't cost you about any, like, I don't want to measure people's money. I don't like counting other people's money, but I'm assuming like, $20, $40 a year is like manageable for people. And then that's it. Like, that's what I want to do with it. And then I want to move it around. I'd like it if doctors' offices started becoming aware of it. I think that's like a way to help people get to the information that a doctor's office could stand behind. They could be like, hey, look, there's this thing. It's, it's very cheap or free. And, here's the feedback we're getting from people about their outcomes and stuff like that. Anyway, it's a thought I had and I am working on it right now.
Yeah, I love that.
Do you?
I can see it. Yeah, especially even, I guess this would have to be the next edition of it, but I just think about even training the daycare. Like, our hospital tried to do a Zoom to teach the daycare just basics, and like how cool just to have a quick course to like give the daycare teacher of like, hey, here's the basics of diabetes.
The reason that's super doable, Lexi, and the reason why I'll be looking for suggestions from people in the future about that, it's allowing me to take like the entire like series of bowl beginning episodes and tell it like, look, here's what I want out of this. I want every actionable thing that's said in here, like every suggestion, piece of advice, actionable step that you can take about diabetes that's in here, like pull it out, make a list of them. Great. Now take that list and tell me a colloquial way to explain it. Great. Now turn that whole thing into a quiz and bang, 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 and it all comes back out again. You could feed an AI model the Bowl Beginning series and say, give me the information that's in this series that would help a person who doesn't know anything about diabetes manage a child for 2 hours.
I love that.
And it would pull it out. And then you could turn that into something. It's been 1.5 years now since I first realized that probably every answer that people need exists inside of the conversations in the podcast.
Yeah.
And I need to extract them.
Absolutely.
So that's what
and AI is the future.
Listen, It takes what I would tell you would probably be a solid month's worth of work, and it does 90% of it in an hour.
Yeah.
Then you can sit down and actually do the human part of going like, is this right? Is this, is this something I want to say? Is this the way it wants to be said? Like, you're not asking it to just give you the finished product and never look at it, but
right. It gives you the starting point.
Oh, the heavy lifting gets done real easy. So
yeah. I use ChatGPT to help write some of my guides, diabetes guide.
Oh, sure.
Just, hey, can you make this more succinct?
Yep. Yeah. Clean this up.
Yeah.
Like, where do the commas go? Like that kind of,
yes.
the little stuff like that it's able to do right now is awesome. And some people have misgivings about it, and some people are just like downright scared of it, and they might even have like good reasons. I'm not saying otherwise, but the last version of it that came out, one of the newer versions, is just like, it has thinking, and before you would ask it something, it would be like, this is the answer. And you're like, oh, okay. Now you can tell it like, think about this, then go over it again and make sure that it's right. And then double check it again. And then go back to the source material and make sure that you've got all the quotes correct. Like, and it takes the time and does all that. And so the returns are getting better and better all the time. It's pretty crazy. But I think it's at the point now where I can trust it to mine my own content and give it back to me in a way that I can now more manageably go through. What's the alternative? It's like Scott sits down and listens to 1,000 hours of podcast and keeps hand notes while he's listening. Like, how the fuck? No. I can't do that. You know what I mean? All right. Listen, I like you. You were cool. I appreciate you doing this very much. Anything you want to say before we go?
No, but can you just say hi to my mom? Because she is one of the most religious listeners. Oh. And I think that'd be super cool.
Do you think she's a religious listener, like she's religious and she listens, or she listens religiously, or
listens
both?
Religiously,
but not religious?
She's very religious as well.
It's the one question I didn't ask you. Like for the life of me, I'm like, is this LDS? Like, you got 3 kids already, you're 30, but then I thought, no, you'd have more by now if you were.
I'm a Christian, yeah.
Yeah, no, I could smell my way around the different religions. I know you're, this is just regular, good old fashioned religion. You're not building an army for God or anything like that, right? No.
My with all my kids around, I don't get to listen as much as I would like, and my mom is always listening. She'll give me little debriefs of some of the episodes.
Oh, I love that. What's your mom's name?
Veronica.
Veronica? Hi, how are you? I appreciate you listening. Veronica, after you listen today, what are you planning on? Maybe some light lunch, going out with friends? Will you be calling Lexy to see how she's doing? That probably just freaked her out. That's awesome. Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We can start talking. No, please. Are you kidding? More of that. All right. Hold on 1 second for me. The episode you just enjoyed was sponsored by the twiist AID system powered by Tidepool. If you want a commercially available insulin pump with twiist lube that offers unmatched personalization and precision for peace of mind, you want twiist. twiist.com/juicebox. Today's episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by the Dexcom G7, and the Dexcom G7 warms up in just 30 minutes. Check it out now at dexcom.com/juicebox. Arden has been getting her diabetes supplies from US Med for 3 years. You can as well. usmed.com/juicebox or call 888-721-1514. My thanks to US Med for sponsoring this episode and for being longtime sponsors of the Juicebox Podcast. There are links in the show notes and links at juiceboxpodcast.com to US Med and all of the sponsors. Hey, thanks for listening all the way to the end. I really appreciate your loyalty and listenership. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back very soon with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. My Grand Rounds series was designed by listeners to tell doctors what they need, and it also helps you to understand what to ask for. There's a mental wellness series that addresses the emotional side of diabetes and practical ways to stay balanced. And when we talk about GLP medications, well, we'll break down what they are, how they may help you, and if they fit into your diabetes management plan. What do these 3 things have in common? They're all available at juiceboxpodcast.com up in the menu. I know it can be hard to find these things in a podcast app, so we've collected them all for you at juiceboxpodcast.com. The episode you just heard was professionally edited by Wrong Way Recording. wrongwayrecording.com.